ask you why you're protesting against a church service?
It's not a church service. It's neo-Nazi, white supremacist. It's homophobic. They're not cool, man.
I guess if you could find the names of which pastor or minister here today is the neo-Nazi or the transphobe, or, I mean, you guys are protesting a church service, so you should know why you're doing that.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. You know, it says Justin Gordon has been outly anti-Semitic.
Is Justin Gordon inside there?
I believe so. He was listed as one of the speakers tonight.
Okay, and he said something. Okay, I'll ask him about that.
I mean, by all means, please do. We've got... Sorry, I'm really nervous speaking on camera.
No, you're doing good.
This was supposed to be a report about a Christian freedom tour that's been happening across Canada called the Let Freedom Reign Tour, which is put on by Laura Lynn Ministries. But unfortunately, the report's been broken into two because when I showed up to cover this event for you in Vancouver, I was greeted by what looked like Antifa. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and unfortunately, it's true. Attacks on freedom of religion, especially that against Christians in Canada, has become more normalized over the last few years in Canada, of all places. Whether it be the near 70 churches that were burnt or vandalized in a spree of hate last summer, or pastors being thrown in prison left and right more so than you'd see in Russia. Or maybe it's the fact that hate crimes against Catholics have increased 200%. This cannot be denied. There's been times where I've covered Christian-type gatherings, services, events for you, and I fully anticipated police to be there, handing out fines or threats or, even worse, arresting pastors. And I've also, of course, expected the state-backed legacy media to be there to name and shame the Christians as they try to hide their face so they don't get fired for worshiping God, being outside as well. But something new is protesters protesting the Christian event. That I did not foresee. Yet that is exactly what happened when I showed up last week at the Vancouver Croatian Center, which is where the Vancouver stop for the Let Freedom Reign Tour put on by Laura Lynn Ministries was taking place, and it was featuring none other than our favorite God's Lion pastor, Pastor Artur Pawlowski. Now, if you don't know who Pastor Artur Pawlowski is, you should check out our special website at saveartur.com. We've covered many of his plights, including being fined outrageously for feeding the homeless or being thrown into prison, solitary confinement to be exact, for preaching the gospel during COVID-19. In fact, our charity partners at the Democracy Fund have taken on his legal fight at no cost to him thanks to amazing people like you. And they've had really big wins with his sharp lawyers at JSS Barristers. But the fight isn't over, so if you want to continue to support that, you can do so at saveartur.com. Now, I did manage to find someone who actually would articulate a few sentences from this Antifa-looking bunch, and I will throw to that in just a second. But let's take a look at this poster of what they're claiming they were protesting against. If you look at it, it says, "We are here to condemn the presence of alt-right speakers and organizers at tonight's Let Freedom Reign event at the Croatian Cultural Center, hiding behind the veil of freedom and using the pandemic as a catalyst to push their agendas. These four speakers share deeply problematic and dangerous ideals." They then accuse the speakers of being anti-Semitic, homophobic, white supremacists, etc. And then they list the four speakers, starting with a Justin Gordon, a name I had never heard, and a name that certainly isn't one of the speakers on the poster for this event, which was rather confusing. And in fact, when you look at all of the posters for all of the events, his name doesn't show up at all. And after I talked to this one protester, I did reach out to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson by text, who you'll hear from in this report as well. And her response was, "I've never heard of him and have no idea who they are talking about. LOL."
Hi, can I talk to you about why you're here protesting the church service?
I'm protesting the fascists that are in there.
Okay, but it's a Christian church service, so
No, the speakers that are here, it's not a Christian church service. I'm sorry.
You mean the pastors and the ministers? They're. Can I ask you why you're protesting against a church service?
It's not a church service. It's neo-Nazi, white supremacist. It's homophobic. They're not cool, man. Why
Should
do you
I
support
be
them?
here if
Why
it's
do you support
neo-Nazi?
them?
Well, first of all, they're
You should
not.
do some research. Do some research.
There's
They're
pastors
very
and
public.
ministers in
no,
their
it's
preach-
guys. It's a total lie.
Yeah. So who's the neo-Nazi?
Sorry, I'm not.
Well, let me know. Let me
Do
know.
your research.
Who's?
You're a
Oh, just name one of the neo-Nazis.
reporter. You should Google it. Do your research.
Read about it.
Don't do
Name. If you're here, you should know who the neo-Nazi is. Am I right? Hi guys. Can I ask you why you're protesting against the church service tonight?
The church service? My understanding is that this church service is actually a bunch of violently homophobic speakers and anti-Semite people who hang out with neo-Nazis who have drifted their way into being leaders of a movement.
Can you name one of the neo-Nazis?
The neo-Nazi. I've got it on my phone.
Sure.
Got
Yeah.
all the info here. Not very good with names. So,
So you guys kind of got called here to combat neo-Nazism? Is that what your mission is? Or?
well, yeah. I mean, the Freedom Convoy's been a bit fraught with issues of having, leaders that have ties to neo-Nazis or are pretty transphobic, pretty homophobic.
Did you know that we had a public inquiry for quite some time, about 5 weeks, that really dug into the Freedom Convoy? Did you watch any of that?
Yeah, I did watch some of that, actually, yeah.
Did you know there was no threat to our nation from the convoy?
Yeah, but I do remember seeing clips of the Freedom Convoy as it was happening. I can't remember the leader's name now, but talking about the Great Replacement theory, and also seeing that the so-called QAnon Queen of Canada was involved with it.
She showed up to some of it, but she wasn't a leader or part of it. Do you think that a movement that big should be responsible for anybody who just shows up?
No, that's not a fair thing to say. But I do think that leaders who espouse transphobic and homophobic ideals and talk about things like the Great Replacement theory shouldn't be platformed.
So I guess if you could find the names of which pastor or minister here today is the neo-Nazi or the transphobe, or, I mean, you guys are protesting a church service, so you should know why you're doing that.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. It says Justin Gordon has been outly anti-Semitic.
Is Justin Gordon inside there?
I believe so. He was listed as one of the speakers tonight.
Okay, and he said something. Okay, I'll ask him about that.
I mean, by all means, please do. We've got... Sorry, I'm really nervous speaking on camera.
No, you're doing good. Part of it is just speaking in general, so I appreciate that. It's not easy to, but I mean, I've been to a lot of church services. This is the first time I've ever seen people protesting it. As a Christian, it's kind of concerning. It kind of makes me feel like I'm not safe in a country where we're supposed to respect freedom of religion.
I mean, we're just dancing and holding signs, right?
All right. Do you think it's like, what do you want the people inside to think when they see you? Go home, you're not welcome here, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would like for people who are far right to feel unwelcome in Vancouver. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your definition of far right?
Far right? Somebody who believes in fascist ideals, national Christian ideals, things like that.
National Christian ideals. So being a Christian is far right?
No. Being Christian is not far right. I think that Jesus was a really cool guy, actually.
Me too. We have that in common.
Yeah, totally. We've got that in common, right? I think he was a really cool guy. I think that a lot of his ideas and the things that he said, at least what the Bible says that he said, were really great, and I agree with a lot, if not most of what Jesus
Yeah, love
said.
your neighbor. Do unto others as you'd like to be treated. Remove the sty from your own eye before you go around blaming everybody else for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you've got people who came here to worship God tonight, a God that they believe in, that they respect. I guess I'm trying to ask, since you seem so level-headed, what do you think they think when they're walking into the church service and they see you guys? Are you okay with the feelings that they might be having? Do you think that almost seems a little bit like fascism to I'm serious.
No. It's okay. It's a very leading question.
It is, I'll admit. I think maybe I'm triggered because I'm a Christian myself when I'm asking.
No, like Christianity is not the issue, right? It's when Christianity is used as a mask for more violent ideas.
And what was the violent idea that somebody here said?
Somebody here said?
What's a violent idea that somebody here, I guess...
Well, as I mentioned, being an out anti-Semite.
You've accused someone of being an anti-Semite, but you don't really have any evidence of such, correct?
Sure, I mean, you can look into it too. I'm sure that he's got all of his things out online. Sure he's got tweets. I'm sure you can find those things on your own as well, as I've done my cursory research into what I'm doing.
Who put out the call to action for this?
I'm not at freedom to say that.
Is it like a group, like a Facebook group or something? Or
I'm not at freedom to say that.
who said that you should wear black?
Who said I should wear black?
Yeah, like it just seems like a lot of people are wearing black. Like, was that part of the call to action?
Not in particular. I think it's just sort of normal for not wanting to be super easily identified, perhaps, so you don't get targeted later. If you are out saying things like transphobia is bad, sometimes people get targeted for that kind of stuff.
Well, I really appreciate talking to you. A lot of people were just putting signs in my face and not talking. I appreciate it. I think you can find more common ground with people when you have dialogue and conversation.
I think so too, I do believe that that's true, and if we can have conversations about stuff like this, I think, my only question for you would be, if you knew that somebody had said something like the rainbow flags are the colors of the rainbow flag is the colors of the devil, why would you come and see him speak?
I haven't. Who said that? First of all, I don't think a Christian would say that because we think. Hold on, we think that the rainbow represents God's promise to never flood the world. So I would be shocked that a Christian would say that.
I would be shocked as well.
So I mean, again, we can't all be held accountable for somebody saying something as rogue as God's promise is a satanic symbol.
I believe it's pronounced Artur.
Pastor Artur Pawlowski.
Yeah. Okay. He was the one who had said, yes, that these are the devil's colors. He said that in his past. I mean,
I'll double check.
Ask him about that, but that's a pretty up thing to say.
That's a Christian symbol before it was an LGBTQ plus
sure
symbol.
Thing, man.
Right?
It's sad, isn't it? They're there, but so passionately confused about why. But now that this was supposedly some sort of neo-Nazi event featuring the pastor who screamed, "Get out, you Nazis," at the government when they invaded his church.
Out! Out! Out of this property, you Nazis! Out! Out! Gestapo is not allowed here.
I thought I'd go inside to see what was actually happening.
But would you give our brother a warm Vancouver welcome for being an amazing standard for our freedom, for our churches?
Crazy times. Yes, it's true. To be here, I had to get a written permission, believe it or not, from my probation officer to be here. Yeah. I'm a professional now. I am a professional criminal. I'm still learning as I go to be better at it. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm failing, but be merciful. I'm learning. I grew up behind Iron Curtain, as you know. I grew up with my wife under the boots of the Soviets. We've seen this movie before. And I'm telling you, unless we change the script, the movie does not end well. And I know that there's some Polish people here, some immigrants that came from other countries, and you know what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm trying to tell you. Because those types of people, like I call him Trudeau Castro or Kenney that we had, UCP government or the Liberal government or NDP government, I mean, I see no difference right now between the governments. They all are singing the same song, which is song about tyranny. And I remember the last speech that I gave before I went on a plane, and of course upon arrival I was immediately arrested, stepping out of the plane. Here is what I said to the Americans. I said, thank you. Thank you for your prayers, thank you for your support, but Canadian children are worth fighting for as well. And that's why I am doing what I'm doing, because our children are worth fighting for.
While hundreds of people were there listening to the different speakers of the event who were not Justin Gordon and listened to worship music, I decided at the end to wait to speak to Pastor Artur Pawlowski and Minister Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson about their thoughts about the Antifa-like bunch out there protesting their event. I caught up with another group of pastors. I wonder if they knew they were at some sort of neo-Nazi event.
You guys had to walk through a group of protesters who were against this gathering. They claimed it was a fascist gathering and a neo-Nazi related gathering. So what is your response to that?
I wish they would have came in and actually found out what was actually happening here, because
Well, this is the thing, right? If you follow the crowd and you don't have real information about what's happening, then you will fall for anything, right? I mean, what has happened for the last 2 years with these lockdowns and the pandemics, and I mean, the Church of Jesus Christ was the only hope that this city had, or the world had. And what happened? The church ran. You know, the pastors, and I'm sorry, I'm not, throwing stones at anybody, but this is a fact. I mean, we all saw it. The government said, okay, well, everybody has to shut down and go home. And the first ones, like without a fight, okay, we will comply and then we'll go online. That's not what the Word of God says. The Bible says that it's more important to obey God rather than men. Oh no, but we gotta obey the authorities because the authorities has been established by God and this and that. But God has a mandate for the church, and we fail. So it's time to literally repent and stand right and do what's right. So if we don't do it now, nobody will do it for us. That's just my 2 cents.
At last, the event was officially over. Pastor Artur Pawlowski and Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson got their photos and their hugs, and people left happy, and Antifa was nowhere in sight anymore. And that's when I caught up with Pastor Artur Pawlowski and Laura Lynn to ask them about the accusations that were made against them. Here's what they had to say.
All right, so this was another successful Laura Lynn Ministries event. I think around 600 people showed up. Yeah. Why is it important that you started this Freedom Reign tour that you've been doing?
You know what, we want the truth to get out there, and so we're putting ourselves on the line, and we got protested tonight. I had calls from the Croatian Cultural Center. They knew they were getting a lot of calls, people trying to shut us down, cancel culture, and I just say hats off to the Croatian Cultural Center. They did not bow. They believe in our freedom in Canada, and they let us come, and I'm sure they wanted our money too. I did have to get some extra security, but all in all, I'm just so blessed. I mean, the protesters, we couldn't even hear them in here, and we just hope. We heard a whole lot of them do not like Trudeau. We're like, hey pals, we're on.
I heard they don't like Krista Freeland either.
Right. You don't like Christie, you don't like Trudeau, neither do we. We just believe in a free country where we have the right to believe in our values, as well as you have the right to live however you want. And so I think that that's the beauty of Canada. We all can have freedom, but we have freedom too.
All right, man of the hour, but some were not happy that you came here to BC. There was actual protesters at a Christian freedom event. I couldn't believe it. According to them, they were protesting neo-Nazism, fascism, and with a sprinkle of transphobia. So let's start with the neo-Nazi claim. What's that about?
I have no idea. I mean, look at us right now.
That's what I said. Oh, I'm at a neo-Nazi event? I didn't know.
Well, I didn't know either. And if you know, of course, what I do, half of the people that we're feeding are colored people. We work in Africa, Belize, Barbados. I mean, my friends are colored people. My grandma came from Romania, believe it or not. That's why my father is darker, dark color of his skin. I mean, it's ridiculous. And here is what I take out of this. When evil or the enemy doesn't have anything on you, they make stuff up, and that's pretty much what it is. I feed homosexuals on a regular basis on the streets of Calgary. Never once I kicked them out. Never once I said, I don't like your lifestyle, therefore I'm not going to feed you. This is not Christianity. Christianity is that God sets up a table, even in front of our enemies, and they're welcome to come and participate if they want to. Those tables are God's tables. So I think it suits their agenda to call us names, even if it doesn't make any sense.
Now, I talked to a couple of the counter-protesters. Believe it or not, they actually spoke with me. The ones that didn't look like they were getting paid to be there anyways. And they thought that they were protesting neo-Nazis and fascism. They thought that the speakers are associated with neo-Nazism, Nazis. What do you think of that?
Not much, Trey. I don't understand why they would say that. It's shocking. I mean, I was born in Uganda, East Africa, and I am African Canadian in my heart. And I love people of all colors. We are not Nazis. We're not racist. We believe in freedom, not communism. We love, for me personally, I love the Jews and have been raised to honor that. I don't think we should discriminate. We should judge people on character and integrity, and we should not judge people by the color of their skin. And I appreciate that these guys were out here. I think that we get some, we get protesters who think that we hate all of the trans people and all of that, and I've never been a hater. I simply say that I have a right to also believe what I believe and to raise my family as I see fit.
Since when it's not okay to agree to disagree? So do we have to agree on everything? I mean, your style of hair, like, look at me. I can't even if I wanted to, I can't do it. I can't do anything about this right now. Or the way you dress, or the way, or what kind of movies you like. Or you like Westerns? Or maybe I hate Westerns. I don't like them. So that means we got a split now and we have to hate each other. You like your coffee black? I like my coffee white. So am I a racist now because I like my coffee white? It's ridiculous. I disagree with my wife from time to time. I disagree with my children from time to time. That doesn't mean I hate them. I just have a different view on that topic. What happened with adults sitting together and saying, hey, let's challenge each other. Let's challenge our thinking. And if we disagree, that's fine. Let's have a coffee, shake our hands, and move our separate ways. Unless they have an agenda. And I believe their agenda is that they want to force the rest of us to believe exactly what they believe and how they believe. And that's communism, my friends.
Well, fascism, too.
Fascism, communism, socialism. I remember when I was a kid, and my wife remembers that as well, we were forced to dress the same way. Like, everyone was forced to believe the same, talk the same, look the same, dress the same. We had those blue little, things that we had to wear. Is that not what they want? The society looks like everyone believes the same, everyone talks the same, everyone looks the same, everyone lives in the same, place. You will own nothing. You will be eating crickets and riding a bicycle in -25, and you will be happy. Well, that's not freedom. That's slavery. And I'm for freedom. I am for freedom for them, but I also want to be free as well. And I want my children to be free as well. Let's agree to disagree.
They said that you said that the flag, I call it God's promise, but that the rainbow was satanic, something along those lines.
Well, the 6-colored rainbow is perverted. And I stand by this. They're using God's promise, so they're using God's symbol that He will never destroy this earth again. It's God's promise in a perverted way to forward sin that God says it's sin. So that's what I'm against. I'm against activism. I'm not against the people that are facing all kinds of challenges. I'm against those vicious activists that are forcing us to bow before their golden image. And I refuse to bow. I only bow before God. So again, if you want to walk around and live your life in peace, go ahead. I don't actually care what you do in your bed. But I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know anything about it. Please keep it to yourself. I don't walk on the streets of our cities with my wife naked because I'm a heterosexual. I don't force my way of sexuality on you or anybody else. Why do they have to do that to us? Why I have to go to a bank and being subjected to indoctrination? Why my children have to be attacked by indoctrination? Why every year there are a number of people walking naked on the streets of our city? What this has to do with freedom?
Well, since this event got ambushed by the protesters, I am going to do another report, which actually explains what the event was officially about and also asks, where are the Christians in the freedom fight? So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure you give us your email at rebelnews.com so that you don't miss that report. But let me know in the comments what you think about what you just watched. I'm Drea Humphrey, and this is Rebel News. Now, thankfully, this Antifa-like mob who took me off guard and surprised me at this event were not violent. But the same can't be said about my colleague, Katie Daviscourt, who was recently attacked and robbed by Antifa when she was covering a drag queen storytime event for you, the public.
They stole my phone, and after the robbery and assaults, I asked 2 local news reporters for help, and they both refused to help me call the police. One even mocked me while I was in distress and said, "That's for you to figure out on your own."
You can call the police if you want to. Feel free.
How? I don't have a phone.
Oh, you have your phone.
I'm not getting it out.
Yeah, no, don't. You're a fascist, Katie. No one's going to help fascists. You Proud Boy Barbie. No one's going to help you here.
So if you would like to stand with Katie, please go to our special website called standwithkatie.com. There you can sign a petition. You can help us try to find the person who robbed her. And you can also chip in to help support the cost of security so that we can amp that up for her so she can bring you reports safely. We appreciate your support, and that website is standwithkatie.com.